Greetings, Star Citizens. Welcome back to an Everyday Starman's Buyer's Guide to Invictus Launch Week 2951. Coming to you today from the Intergalactic Spaceport on New Babbage instead of the Bevic Convention Center. Because it's Drake Day, and Drake's taken over one of the hangars at the spaceport because they weren't technically invited to the Invictus event. This could be because they don't have an official UEE military contract, or maybe some of their controversies like ties to piracy, alleged ties I should say, but that's not going to stop Drake. Probably one of the best, if not the best manufacturer in the verse, if you ask me. Should I pick up a Pico doll before we start? Yeah, why not? I'll be right back. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go take a look at Drake's Defensecon. I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys, but Drake is probably one of my favorite manufacturers. It's definitely in my top 3 between Drake, Origin, and Crusader, but Drake just might be my favorite. And I'll tell you why, because almost everything Drake makes is useful in the verse. Granted, there's a unique style though, and their style isn't for everybody, like my Pico, which just vanished. So I guess Pico won't be joining us. Alright, here we are, greeted by the signature Drake Red and Black, just like last year, with the words, "After the fleet launches, who's left to protect you?" Drake and a planetary, of course. And this setup looks even better than last year, if you ask me. We got the cool music going. None of that dry UEE stuff. Looks like this hangar is filled with cutlasses on the side. And of course, still one of the titans of industry, the Caterpillar. Although the Caterpillar's kind of taken a hit with the Hercules' release this year. But if you ask me, still a great ship. Why don't we start there with our tour? So for a long time, the Caterpillar was the cargo ship to have. Still a very useful cargo ship in the verse, with a very healthy cargo capacity. I forgot how much exactly, but I'll flash it on the screen. I think it's like around 576 SEU. We'll see if I'm right or wrong. But one of the reasons why I still think this ship is still good and you shouldn't overlook it is because it's built with modularity in mind, which isn't fully implemented yet. But that means you're going to be able to buy different modules and kit out your Caterpillar. And one of the things that goes into the modularity is the bridge here is its own kind of like small craft. As you can see, it's got thrusters and it's meant to detach from the hull. Again, this isn't implemented yet, but it's something to look forward to in the future. Who knows, you may be able to dock with other people's Caterpillars or go planet side, maybe to a small outpost for drinks, who knows. Also, kind of a signature or staple of Drake's that we're going to see today are huge honking thrusters. Very, very muscle car-like, if you ask me. So if you're into that muscular feel, then Drake is for you. I mean, look at these thrusters. They mean business. But anyway, it's like I was saying, I think there's a deal on this ship for War Bond today. I'm not sure about tomorrow, so that means you could probably grab it for about $25 off the normal price. I still think it's a very good ship. If you can't afford a Hercules, then this is a good place to start. Ships like this are a springboard into getting into other industries. And as you can see, the cargo bay is open here. I mean, a ship like this can just open up so much money and revenue to you that you can buy other things with. So don't overlook it. They're fairly easy to fly for the size, I find, and I still think a lot of fun. Alright, so let's start talking about the Cutlasses. Starting right off here with the Cutlass Black, the ship that started it all. The Black is still one of the best multi-purpose ships, if not the best, in the game, for a very affordable price point. Actually, a little lore fact, little lore tidbit, this ship was actually submitted to the UEE as one of the next convertible fighters, I believe. It was turned down, so then Drake decided to market it towards civilians, but who knows, if this one had been accepted, then maybe they would be officially at Invictus. These have become popular with pirates, let's say, because of its ability to carry cargo. Also, defensive capabilities, shall we say. And the front arms, which aren't fully implemented yet, should be used for grabbing cargo. But as you can see here, you've got an ample cargo bay space here. You can fit rocks in here, or tumbrel cyclones. I bet even an Ursa rover might fit in here. No, I'm sorry, it won't fit in due to the entryway. But still, a very versatile ship. Accommodations are very Drake-like, shall we say. You know, exposed cabling and everything like that. It looks like it's got barely enough insulation to keep you warm in a cold space. And, you know, the accommodations are Spartan. But I think for the price point, you have a turret. You know, it's got some combat capabilities. Well, decent combat capabilities, I should say. The knock on it for me is that defensively, these guys are a little bit of a liability. But, you know, it's not pretty to look at. And one of my major drawbacks with these is no bathroom. Not even close to getting a shallot in here, which you guys know is very important to me. But other than that, I mean, I still think this is a definitely good career starter. You'd probably start here and then springboard to a Caterpillar. But these have a lot of potential. Still very good in the verse and still at a very good price point. So definitely can't look past the Cutlass, which I could go on talking about forever. But I'm not going to, because we're going to start talking about the Cutlass Red here. So the Red, when it was introduced, is the first search and rescue craft that's been fully implemented in the game. It's got a nice little docking collar here, which is a nice feature. I love the Red for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is as a rock miner, you wouldn't think of it, but this is kind of good to hold one rock in the back. And then you have your med bay here, which you can use as a spawn point. So very valuable ship, in my opinion. And whenever search and rescue gets implemented, which looks like, you know, medical gameplay is coming out soon, this is the least expensive way to get into medical gameplay. So a lot of applications for the Red. I think it's a great value. Definitely a buy if you ask me. Now, the only drawback with Drakes, of course, is the style of them. You know, they're not there to win any style contest, shall we say. But they all sport those big honking thrusters, which I should mention are a little bit of a liability. They are prone to getting knocked off in combat. All right, moving along, we've got the Cutlass Blue here, which is the latest in the Cutlass line. It's got an updated cockpit for greater visibility. Still got the signature tractor beam arms for stealing cargo. I mean, well, in this case, recovering cargo, shall we say. Not quite implemented yet, but something to look forward to in the future. You got the docking colors on the side with this one instead of the drop side doors that the stock Cutlass Black has. In the back, you've got extra accommodations for your guests, which will be prisoners, of course. One drawback here is this cargo bay back here isn't that great. I mean, it's probably about the size of the Reds, so you can probably still fit maybe a Buccaneer or buggy. But yeah, you've got your prisoner accommodations here. And one feature of the Blue is that it's got a quantum snare, I believe. So it's not quite as good as the Mantis. It's not going to be able to pull a ship out of quantum, but it will stop them. So great ship for piracy. I mean, bounty hunting. Or, well, yeah, whatever you might use it for. I shouldn't suggest that you would get this ship for piracy, but of course, like any Drake ship, you could use it for that. Not saying you would. Anyway, not a bad value, if you ask me, although using the quantum snaring abilities may get you a crime stat, so that's something else to consider if you're thinking about the Blue. Although it is the more combat capable ship in the Cutlass line. It's got an extra shield generator, I believe. It's definitely a lot more defensive, which is the Achilles heel of the Black, in my opinion. These ships, Drake ships in general, I don't really feel like have a lot of defensive capability. As you can see, they're not really that armored up, but the Blue has extra armament. So if you're thinking about going into combat Cutlass style, the Blue is where you want to be. Plus, it's got the Blue and the Red both have really cool flashing lights. I forgot to mention that about the Red. So definitely worth a look. Alright, so here we have an NPC floating in the air right next to the Drake Buccaneer. One of my favorites stylistically wise, it looks kind of like, it kind of reminds me of the X-Wing, the way it's got the signature Drake thrusters strapped onto the wing there, and a small cockpit in the front. Very cool looking ship if you ask me. Functionally, it's well armed and it moves fast. But the problem is it's got the Drake signature paper thin hull as well. So it's not really going to be able to take much of a pounding. But that doesn't mean that these can't be pretty effective hit and run fighters for, I don't know, attacking convoys or something like that. I'm not saying that you would, but you could. Anyway, the Buccaneer is not bad at its price point. I don't understand why it's a little bit more expensive than a Cutlass Black, however, which you're going to get much more use out of, but I think it's worth a look. I'm not sure if it's worth a buy, though. You could probably buy this in-game pretty inexpensively. This guy's like, okay, guys, this isn't funny. Get me out of the ground. Alright, here's an oldie, but sort of goodie. The Herald from Drake is Drake's offering into the data running profession, shall we say. You can see it's got physicalized data storage here, which is an interesting concept. We'll have to see how data running gets implemented in a game, but right now, if you're interested in data running, your options are pretty much the Herald and the Mercury Star Runner. Everybody talks about the Star Runner, it gets all the attention, but the Herald was doing it first. At least in the verse. I'm not sure about it in lore. Interesting ship. It's got the Drake signature thrusters strapped onto the back. But this flies just the way it looks. It's got huge thrusters in the back that basically propel it forward, so it does that very well. But it's got tiny wings, shall we say, like T-Rex sized arms for wings, that don't lend it to flying very well in cornering. So I don't know if they plan on improving that or if that's just a characteristic of this guy, since I guess Drake gives you a inexpensive way to do a lot of functions. But anyway, the interior is not too bad. This is actually one of my favorite ships when it was first came out. For Drake, this is a pretty good looking bedroom. And my god, it has a toilet. How come? Wow, this is just blowing my mind. How is it that the Herald has a toilet and a sink, but the Cutlass does not? With the Cutlass, you got to hold it till you get to the next rest stop, which is just inhuman. But anyway, you got the data operator's seat there, and you've got the cockpit for the pilot over here, very Drake-esque. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Herald's got a lot of potential, but the way it flies is a real detractor, so I can't recommend it based on the flight mechanics and how it performs. But if you can get past that, what am I saying? You can't get past that. I mean, so for that reason alone, I can't recommend it as a buy, even though it's fairly inexpensive. I suppose if you want to get into data running, it's a possibility, but where it's priced at, you could probably buy this in-game, and I think you might actually be a little disappointed if you spent real-world money and you actually flew this around. But don't take my word for it. Rent it for yourself and try it out. I have such a hard time now recommending a Drake ship. I just love them so much. But yeah, that's a pass. Alright, looks like we've got the Drake swag here, which I definitely recommend picking up. Looks pretty sharp. And these kiosks here, if you see them around the spaceport, these are the rental terminals where you can rent any spaceship that you've seen in a show. So, I mean, it's pretty good to do before the show is over. As long as your terminal loads, which, for the purposes of this video, is very embarrassing. It's taking forever for this to load. Oh, that's cool. I want a Dragonfly toy. Alright, and you can see right now I am on a Dragonfly right under a NPC who's also floating in the air, but it was really cool when he was taking selfies earlier. Anyway, the Dragonfly is one of the few hover bikes that are in the game right now. Hover vehicles are really cool because you can use them in space and in atmosphere. The uncool part is the handling still leaves a lot to be desired, but what's really cool about the Dragonfly is it is a two-seater, which I don't believe the alien hover bikes are. I think they're one-seater, so that gives the Dragonfly a leg up. Me personally, I prefer the yellow colored one, but that one doesn't seem to be available. But this year, I must say, there are some really cool paints for the Dragonfly and Cutlass out, black and red. If you haven't noticed, those are my channel colors and logo colors, so I feel like it was just made for me. I mean, Drake is just always looking out for Astro Nesto. So, While I do love the Dragonfly, it's and it isn't expensive, I still think it's still your best bet is to just save up and buy it in game. I mean, unless you have 40 bucks to splurge here or there, but it's you know, it's not exactly a vehicle I feel good telling you should spend real world money on. Alright, here we have the Vulture in the concept area. The Vulture is going to be a part of the salvage gameplay when that comes out. We already have the Reclaimer, but its salvaging features aren't there yet. But this is going to be Drake's offering into salvage, and it's a fairly affordable one. I believe the ship is marketed at $140 US dollars, which is not a terrible price, but at that price point you got to think that it's going to be affordable to buy in game. So I wouldn't recommend pledging for it unless you just feel like you really want to jump into salvage as soon as it's offered. I kind of have mixed feelings on this one. I think it's kind of okay if you want to get into it as a single salvager, but obviously the Reclaimer seems like it would be the salvage ship to get. Although the Reclaimers are not the most maneuverable ships in the world, and that's putting it nicely. So, anyway, I think it's going to be a good ship. I don't recommend it as a buy, though. I think you should save up in-game if you can wait. But if you're like me, you're already looking at a CCU upgrade to this guy so that you can hold on to it for later. Don't be like me. Alright, coming up next we have the Corsair, keeping up with the Drake legacy of using pirate-like names. The Corsair is going to be their exploration vessel. This is going to be their answer to the Constellation series from RSI. I happen to like it a lot. I like the way it looks. You're going to be able to put a vehicle in the back there. I believe Ursa River size. So it's basically going to be exploration Drake style, which means I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you're stuck in the ground like that. That must be frustrating. I understand why you're saying this sucks and everything. Anyway. Getting back to the Corsair, though, it does exploration, but you know, Drake style, which means it's gonna have it's gonna be heavily armed, so that you can explore other people's vessels. I mean, you know, places, because of course you wouldn't be doing that with it. You know, I really liked it when it was first introduced, but the more I listen to other people's criticisms of it, some of it being like, why is it asymmetrical? Why does it have the wings on the side like that are split open for no reason? And also, I think on a recent Inforunners, I was listening to them, and they mentioned that the turrets are on the side instead of on the top. So that's going to limit what you're going to be able to attack. It doesn't look like you have any options to turn those turrets rear facing. So I think there's enough here to be concerned about the Corsair, which makes me sad because I really was excited about it when it was first introduced. So I don't know if it's a buy. If you do buy it, maybe do it as a cross-chassis upgrade and, you know, have the ability to get out of it, like melt out of it to something else if it turns out that you don't like it. But, yeah, it should be interesting to see what this is going to be like. I mean, it's Drake, so, I mean, I just have to have it, but I am on the fence. I think you should do your homework on this one before you buy it and see if it's going to fit your playstyle. I don't know. What do you think? See, I think she's thinking about it hard like me. I don't blame you. No. Looks like she's placing a buy order right now, so maybe I'm wrong. Alright, let's see what's on the other side of the hall. I must say I really love how Drake decks out everything for the Defensecon. I'm just such a Drake fanboy, it's sickening, huh? Wow. Alright, so this is the Kraken, Drake's capital ship. And if you ask me, the best capital ship money can buy. Speaking of money, you need to, I believe, be in the concierge club, so that means you've already spent a lot of money just to have the opportunity to buy one of these. And the opportunity slips by pretty fast. I believe they've sold out in the first 5 minutes of the offerings. But that goes to speak to how good of a capital ship this is going to be. You can see it looks like an aircraft carrier in space. One of its features is it is going to have a few landing pads for vehicles, accommodations at every landing pad for sleeping quarters for people, a lot of cargo space, so you can use it as cargo hauler, A lot of defensive capabilities. I mean, this is basically, you know, what your org's using as its capital ship. So it's, you know, it's home in space, so to speak. And I think it's the best one because it has the best ability to carry other ships around. You can splurge a little bit more and get the privateer options for this, which basically trades out some cargo space for shops. I'm not sure why you would do that when the Banu Merchantman does the same job at a much less price point. If you have the ability to buy a Kraken, I would not buy the privateer version. I think I would just buy the base model and wait to buy the privateer modules in game, or you can buy it as an add-on later on if that's what you decide you really need to do. But again, most of us won't have the ability to get a Kraken, so maybe I shouldn't even be spending this much time on it. At a starting price of $1,400 USD though, yeah, I mean, I can't recommend any ship for that price, honestly. Alright guys, looks like this is going to do it for Drake's Defensecon here at ILW 2951, the last manufacturer event of the week. It's been a great week. I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys and taking a look at the starships. Hopefully you gained something from my perspective, but you know, it really doesn't matter what I think. I think it's really just up to you and what your playstyle is, and if you like a spaceship, you should go out there and get it. I'm just trying to share some of my experience so that maybe you can avoid some of the mistakes that I might have made. But definitely make your way down to the spaceport. The last few days, I believe you have a chance to rent any of the spaceships that you've seen, so I highly recommend you do that to see if a ship that you might be on the fence about fits your style. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. I'd really appreciate that. Also, I'm still giving away a Nomad starter package, so to be entered to win, you must be subscribed to the channel and leave a comment. And when we hit 300 subscribers, we will pick a winner. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys watching the video and hanging out. Hope you enjoy the rest of Invictus Launch Week, and we'll see you next time.